FNCS heats and finals are happening soon, and there are bound to be a couple of teams this season that I think will surprise everyone and do really well. So I'm going to show you guys the 4 teams that I think will A, qualify to finals, and B, possibly make LAN. So let's get right into it, starting with EU. The first team that I think will surprise a lot of people, and I think that they should be on more people's radar, is TWI and Cringe. They've been performing extremely consistently this season, placing 8th, 5th, and 2nd in 3 out of the 4 Div Cup finals of the season. Their biggest problem has been off-spawn, as the split that they are landing at usually gets conned by 2 or 3 teams. However, in heats, they are uncontested at the moment, which makes them a pretty safe pick to definitely qualify either through placement or a win. I think that they're going to be extremely consistent and not get a win though. This is because they are primarily a low ground team, and low ground is particularly hard to get wins from. However, I think that they will be able to place consistently in all the games and will probably qualify off of consistency. Crucial to this team's success is TWI, who is an absolutely crazy fragger who goes nuclear in endgames. Playing with Cringe, who he has been playing with for a long time, and they have duoed multiple times in the past, this team definitely has the chemistry to make it to a grand finals at the very least. And before we get to all the other teams, I would just like to make a quick note that every single team that I chose is uncontested as of right now on the Heats map. This is because the map that we are currently playing has a lot less loot than maps have had in the past, which means that many teams and most of the ones in the lobby are going to be contested. So that means that the teams who manage to get their spots unconned are at a severe advantage to everyone else in the lobby. So a team like Cringe and TWI, who currently have Latte contested to their north, Wonky Lane contested to their northeast, and the Mountain Split contested to the northwest, will definitely have their choice of who they want to key off spawn. The only thing that could draw a big spanner in the works of their LAN qual is Skyjump and Mumsy. They are currently landing at the same spot as them, but in a different heat. And these two teams have been conning each other all season, so if Skyjump and Mumsy qual, they will almost certainly con TWI and Cringe in the finals. And similar to Cringe and TWI, Skyjump and Mumsy are a good fighting team with a lot of teams contested around them. So they could definitely qualify for finals as well, which would cause TWI and Cringe's performance to drop significantly. The next team that I think could have a really good run at heats and finals this FNCS is Nebs and Nathan. I mean, I don't even know if I can call them underrated at this point. They literally won the last Div Cup finals and took 5th in the one before that. So they're obviously doing really good right now. It's just a matter of whether or not people have actually begun to notice this yet. I think that this team reminds me a lot of Cringe and TWI with their low to mid ground play style and relatively consistent games, which make them a pretty safe pick to do well in heats and grands. However, of the two teams, I think that Nebs and Nathan are the more relaxed, more consistent team out of the two, as I don't think they have a really clear, heavy fragger. It's also worth to mention that I believe that Nathan is on controller still. I know that he was a year or two ago, but I don't think he switched, so they are a 1 controller, 1 KBM duo. This team has been mostly unconned for most of the season. They have been conned a little bit in Div Cup finals, which has caused them to mess up one of their wins in their 5th place performance. But overall, I think this team should be mostly unconned in heats and finals. However, their off-spawn is probably the weakest part of their game, since when they are conned off-spawn, whether it was in globals by, I think it was Muzz and Sphinx, they did not do very well. So if they are surprise contested in heats or in finals, this could very much spell the end of their LAN run. Something that I think would definitely boost them up is that of the 3 heats, their spot is contested in the other 2. So any teams that might be potentially landing on them in finals will definitely have a rough time of making it there, since they're going to be contested. Also, Nebs and Nathan don't really have any teams contested around them, which might seem bad, but I think for Nebs and Nathan's playstyle, this will actually be a buff. Now, for my third and final pick, for an EU underrated team, I have to go with Twek and Midro. This team has formed together in the past, and they did extremely well. After the first 2 games in the first EWC finals, they were in 1st place, which definitely drew a lot of eyes to them. While Midro has slightly fallen off in terms of his teammates, Twek then went on to play with many good players such as TD and especially Gonzo. In fact, only a few weeks ago, Twek and Gonzo actually won a Div Cup final, showing that Twek definitely has the potential to do it again. However, after a bad Div Cup finals last week, Twek and Gonzo split, as Gonzo went to play with iDrop instead. Now, the biggest reason for them splitting was their off-spawn situation. Landing at the bus stop, which is like northeast of Battlewood Boulevard, they were almost always contested by Pink and Chris. This caused them to get about 42 points in 6 games last Divka Finals, which is the reason that they split. Now though, at least in heats, they've managed to get their spot uncontested, which should make them a pretty safe pick to qualify for Grands. However, Pink and Chris are still landing at the same spot, just in a different heat, but they're also uncontested, so chances are they will also qualify finals, and Twek and Midra will have a rough time dealing with them off spawn in the finals. Now that I'm done talking about their off spawn situation, what makes this team so good? I think that their resourcefulness and scrappiness will definitely help them in these set lobbies, where it's very chaotic and hard to plan for. Also, in the games that they do make it off spawn in finals, if they are fighting against Pink and Chris, they should be able to get their hands on the Poison Ivy Mythic Pistol, which is absolutely broken, especially when you're on height. And with the mountain to their southeast being contested, they should be able to get free pickings and probably a couple kills and surge damage in their early to mid game. So I think that they should be able to consistently make endgames above on surge. They also like to play zone, which is obviously the meta in this season, so they should be okay with that, having the vending machines that they can use to buy medkits from. And finally, moving over to NA for the last team, I'm going with a little bit of a more underrated, ballsy pick. Out of the 4 teams, I think this is the most risky one out of them all. And I'm going with Mirops and QK. Now, I may be slightly biased because I have played a couple games with Mirops in the past, so I know how good he is. But he's currently landing at Shaken Sanctuary uncontested in Heat 3, which is quote-unquote the Heat of Doom with so many Tier 1 teams in it. Now, Shaken Sanctuary uncon is definitely a spot that you should be able to get a win from, so even if they are contested, which might happen because I don't know if they have the aura to hold it down, they probably will be able to get height and get a win in one of the games that they make it off spawn. I think that this team has been playing some extremely consistent height games over the course of the Opens, which is what I'm basing a lot of this off of. They placed 14th overall, and I think they were in like 5th after day 1. So this team definitely has the consistency and has the ability to pop off when they need to. Now, in finals, if they do make it, they will probably have to switch drops off of Shaken Sanctuary because I believe that is where Clix and Rapid are landing, so unless they want to con Clix, then they're probably going to switch to a more underrated split. Alright, actually, I just went back and checked. They're actually not in the Heat of Doom on NA, so they should definitely be a free pick to qualify for the finals at least. But anyways, talking about Heats, in their Heat, there's not that many good teams around them, so I think they should be able to definitely push them around and kind of bully them a little bit. Also, most of the teams conned around them are on splits, and they're contested, so they should definitely be able to get a couple kills in the early to mid game. For example, down at Cluster Coast to their south, they have Day versus Magi fighting, which will definitely be a dragged out spawn fight that I don't think they're going to get involved in, but they might want to anyways. And to their west, they have a triple contested area where the teleporter is, so they should definitely be able to get some free kills off of that. They also have the split that is kind of like east of Sunken Shores, double contested as well, so they could definitely fight that team. And they also have the cube, which is obviously a big factor for W King and just rotating out in general. Being able to use that to get out of like deep storm situations or to just land on a team will definitely be very helpful for their situation. Overall though, I think this team will qual Grands, but if they make land, I think that would be a really big upset and a big pop-off from them. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. As of right now, as of recording this, heats are starting today, so we'll have to see if my picks actually do well or if I'm just not good at this. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!